Hello, everyone. Dr. Stillman here. Today, I'm joined by my friend Roudy Nassif, founder of VivaRays, one of my favorite blue blocking products. And also, his product line has got a couple of other products that I use, particularly to protect my sleep and circadian rhythms. And particularly when I'm on the road, I like his stuff, particularly for busy, frequent travelers. And he is himself a digital nomad, joining us as he is now from a beach somewhere in Central America, right, Roudy?
Hey, Lalan, yes, I'm actually enjoying a storm right now. Uh,
Yeah,
Crazy lightning bolts hitting the ocean in front of me.
yeah. Yeah. So Roudy runs VivaRays. I wear their blue blockers when I travel for a couple of reasons. Number one, you can actually change the lenses out, which I really like, and that allows you to like change the intensity of your blue light blocking. And light is what we're really here to talk about today. And Rudy's got, his story to share with us, and I wanted to give him time to chat about how he came to realize how important light was for health.
Yeah, absolutely. Reflecting back on my story, I had 5 major breakthroughs that took me from depression, anxiety, chronic fatigue to vitality, vibrancy, and inspiration. And it literally started, Lalan, when I was a little kid at school. I was the perfect example of the problem child, always suffering from
Yes.
headache, agitation, and inability to focus. And my teachers were so quick to label me as ADHD and forcing me back into a rigid educational system that literally were like artificially lit classroom felt literally like a prison cell to me.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Lebanon, in
And
the
so it's a
Middle East.
beautiful, sunny country where it's very sad that they put people indoors with artificial light.
Absolutely. Like the class felt like a prison cell to me. And all I wanted was to break free and feel that sunshine on my face. I was a very, very intuitive kid and I knew what I wanted from a very, very young age, but I could not express myself. So my only way to express myself back then was troublemaking because it was my only escape from the prison. And believe it or not, Lenin, I was kicked out from 7 different schools. Now, fast forward a few
Wow.
years, I landed myself into engineering school somehow. But by then, I was living like a night owl, up and wired all night and useless and drained during the day. I felt like I've been chewed up and spat out by life. Always tired, never up for much, constantly unmotivated in my social and professional life. And I was literally, Lenin, like dragging myself through the day as if I was wearing a backpack full of rocks. It was so heavy.
Yeah.
And the lowest point was when I got kicked out of my job as an engineer. I literally woke up the following day completely paralyzed with sadness and fatigue. And I could not find a compelling reason to leave my bed. I was in a very bad state, almost suicidal. Now, around that same time, I literally stumbled upon a quote from Albert Einstein. It said, "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results."
Yeah.
And this truth literally struck me like a bolt of lightning. And I decided to
That's
leave
great.
everything behind. I packed my bags and I went on a journey to find some answers. So I was very excited because I was learning from the world's top leading experts and health gurus. And I was feeling very hopeful that I could make a change in my life. But the problem was every one of them was telling me to do something different. Eat
I
this,
know.
don't eat that,
I know.
count your calories, exercise more, take this vitamin, try this gadget.
Right.
And with the state that I was in, it was all too much and extremely confusing, Lennon. And no matter how many diet supplements I tried, I wasn't feeling any better.
Hmm.
Now, one evening, I was literally lost in the vast sea of the internet, roaming the web, and I found a video by Dr. Jack Kruse. It was titled "Artificial Light is Killing Us."
Yeah.
And at the time, to be honest, my mind was very foggy, so everything he said seemed to fly over my head. But the one line that stood out, he said, "You can't get healthy in the same light environment that made you sick."
Mm.
And it literally stuck with me because at the time I was already trying all these different diets, all these different supplements, and I wasn't getting the long-lasting results. So I decided to take his word to heart and start an experiment. So I literally left the city and I decided to go volunteer on a farm in Quebec, up north in Canada. And for 6 weeks, Lalin, I was sleeping in my tent, literally being exposed only to natural sunlight during the day and fire and candlelight during the evening. Now, within a matter of 3 days, something miraculous was happening. I was experiencing a transformation that I hadn't felt in 25 years, literally. I was
Right.
waking up, I was waking up at dawn with no alarm clock, feeling super fresh, super rested, super energized, like I've never felt before. And I was, for the first time, infused with an exhilarating sense of joy, feeling on top of my world. My motivation was scaling up, and it was very remarkable. To me, it was magic. I couldn't understand what was happening. So, being the curious soul that I am, I was literally eager to comprehend this miraculous transformation, and this led me to the realm of light and health. And this literally was the beginning of this 7-year journey so far of studying, questioning, mostly unlearning and relearning. And throughout this journey came my third big moment, a light bulb moment. And it was all about this fantastic equation from Albert Einstein, E equal
Yeah.
mc squared,
Right.
which completely changed the way I look at health and light.
And did you start to think about this because of Jack Cruz's blog post on this?
I actually start thinking about it because I was watching one of his presentation, I guess the Vermont presentation.
Yes, the Vermont talks at Shelburne Farms are amazing.
Exactly. And he was talking about E equal mc squared. And I studied engineering. I'm very familiar with physics, the
And
physics of light,
relativity,
but I've
yes.
never connected it to biology
I know.
because I did not study biology that much.
I know. And
but-
so I had a similar experience, right? Where as a doctor, I'd been taught to consider the matter and the drugs and the chemicals and the organ systems and the electrolytes and the vitamins. But I had the same experience where I thought, I came to Jack Cruz's work and I thought, hold on a minute. There's a completely other side of the equation that's all about light and sound and energy and vibration. And these are actually what control circadian rhythms. And that's what we're really talking about, is the ability of your body to time its rest and rejuvenation and its activity and exertion, which is what really mismatches in this create a lot of the pathology we see in the conventional medical world of what we call anxiety, depression, a myriad of illnesses that then are the results of these things that you've obviously experienced firsthand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I first looked at this equation from fresh new eyes, it seemed to me like it's coming out of a science fiction movie. But then I realized, oh my God, like not only light control every aspect of our health, but it's the nucleus of life itself. It's literally the cause from which everything springs. And we are beings of light, and literally everything around us, including the earth itself, come from the light and is profoundly influenced by light. And as you're saying, Leland, when light enters our eyes, it literally slows down, and it's giving the energy to all of those hormones and brain chemicals that control how we feel, how we think, and how we act. And as a depressed person, going from one holistic doctor to another, everyone was telling me about my dopamine deficiency, about my serotonin deficiency, but no one told me that my light environment was actually giving the instruction for my dopamine and for my serotonin on what to do. So
That's it.
So literally, like when I made the leap, or by chance going to this fund, deciding to change my light environment, it's not surprising that in 3 days I start feeling a transformation that I had not felt for so many years. It's because literally I changed my light environment. I was in natural light a lot more during the day, and where I went to volunteer, Leland, I was living with indigenous people up north, and really up north in Canada, and those people were still living really connected to the land, and they did not use any electricity or Wi-Fi at night. And while we, in our day-to-day life, need to use these things, we must find some ways to mitigate the effect, because as we mentioned, if light is capable of giving the instruction to our neurotransmitters, it's literally capable of shaping the way we perceive ourselves and the way we perceive our words. And the number one thing when someone is feeling an illness, they have a self-image, a very strong self-image of themselves as being ill. And basically we keep reinforcing this image as we go from one approach to another, and we often fail to help the person to rewire a new self-image of themselves, one that is belonging to their true nature, which is one of vitality and vibrancy. But the problem is that their environment is depleting that person, which in my case I was very depleted, and I could not have that energy to be able to think about myself in a whole new way.
And so we have to like talk about that for a minute, because it's really important for people to understand that you need this balance between the day and the night in order to have health in your body, your brain, your organ systems, etc. When you're exerting yourself during the day and are having your neurotransmitters and hormones triggered by light, and that's what wakes you up in the morning, just in case you ever wondered. It's that light hitting your eyes in the morning. It stimulates this signal from your retina to the rest of your brain. That signal triggers the release of these hormones and neurotransmitters. But just like you have to step on the brake to slow down your car so that you can take it to the shop so that it can be repaired, so that it doesn't turn into a smoking wreck, you have to occasionally slow down your body, as in every single night, and allow it to rest and rejuvenate. And the problem with our modern world in many respects is that what we've got is a world where the gas pedal is always being stepped on, and everyone wonders why they don't have any gas left in the tank, so to speak. It's very simple. It's about your circadian rhythms. It's about the lack of restful sleep at night, which is driven by this chronically bright and sort of bright light environment. More on that in a minute.
Absolutely. That's amazing, Leland, that you brought this up. And I always remind people that getting a great night's sleep and waking up feeling rested and rejuvenated doesn't happen by chance like so many people think. It happens by design, and it's controlled by law. And the one word that describes that law is the law of balance. Everything in nature is based on balance. There is a balanced rhythmic interchange between polar opposites. And what you just described is literally the balance interchange between day and night. And when this is absent, it throws us off balance. And there is no way that we can function at our best, because it's a vicious cycle, and they're literally interconnected to each other. So the way we sleep at night will determine the way we show up in our day that following morning, how productive we feel, how much we can get done, but also the way we show up in our day and the habits that we do during the day will determine how well we sleep at night. And this is deeply tied to the frequency of light that we're also exposed to in nature. So if you don't mind, Leland, if we can bring up the slide. So this is the frequency of sunlight that we expose ourselves to during the day. And if you look at this frequency, the one word that pops up in my mind is symmetry and balance. There's a symmetry and balance between all of the frequencies of colors, and as well as the invisible frequencies of UV and infrared. Now, one of the main problems that we face in today's world is that anytime we're exposed to our phones, screens, or we're surrounded by all these LED bulbs and screens, we are exposed to a frequency of light that is non-native, that we have not been exposed to throughout our evolution. And the one word that describes this frequency is it's completely unbalanced. And as a result, it throws us off balance. It destructs our neurotransmitters, our hormones. So if we move to the second slide, Leland. So this is the common frequency that we expose ourselves to from LED bulbs, screens. Anytime you're sitting in front of your phone, you're scrolling on social media, you're working on your laptop. But not only this, most people think it's phones and screens. The true danger is the light bulbs that we are using in our living room, in our kitchen, in our bathroom. And the one thing in common between all of these, they peak at 455 nanometer in blue light, this nasty peak that we see.
Yeah.
And this is not even full spectrum blue light. This is a short, narrow peak in blue that is not balanced with the blue turquoise, orange, and red light.
And what I want people to understand about these frequencies and how they interact with your skin and your eye is that The blue and greens, particularly the higher ranges, create many of the same much of the same damage that we see with ultraviolet light in the skin that creates lipid peroxides and then DNA damage and oxidative stress that's associated with skin cancer. Okay. What the reds and the infrared light does in the skin is turn on healing and regeneration pathways. And this is why I'm concerned that indoor lighting is actually causing more skin cancer than the sun.
Absolutely. And
it's also why eye diseases are exploding, and why the cutting edge right now of ophthalmology, which is eye medicine, is really using red and infrared light to heal the retina.
Absolutely. It's completely deficient from our indoor environment. And the
Right.
one thing about blue light, it's getting a connotation that blue light is bad. And
Right.
this is absolutely not true. Blue light is not good nor bad, just like anything else in nature. Everything in nature is relative, and its effect on us will depend on the time of the day we're exposing ourselves to it, and whether or not it was balanced and proportionate with the other frequencies of color.
And that's a really important point here. I want people to understand that the frequency that Rudy's got up on the screen right now, this looks like it's clearly heavy in blue light, but your eye doesn't perceive this. Your eye just thinks that's a white light. It can't tell the difference between this and sunlight, but it's having a very powerful effect. Just like you can't tell the difference between maybe stevia or artificial sweetener and sugar or fructose, your eye and your skin can't differentiate between white light from an LED bulb that's grossly imbalanced and really bad for your retina and your skin, and sunlight.
Absolutely. So if we come back to the slide before that, so the slide that is showing the spectral curve of sunlight, see, this is the frequency that we have evolved under for hundreds of thousands of years. And this frequency literally activates our inner pharmacy so that we can show up in the best way we could during our day, being alert, being focused, being energized. And notice, Leland, that there's a lot of blue light in sunlight, but you can also notice it's balanced and it's proportionate with the yellow, orange, and red light.
Right.
And for the first time in our history, for the past 100 years, we're exposing our eyes to a frequency of blue, not even full spectrum of blue, just a spike in blue light at 455 that is not balanced and proportionate. And this is causing inflammation. It's causing mitochondrial damage, leading to aging and neurodegenerative diseases. Oftentimes, what we hear from our clients, people sitting in front of their screen or under artificial light during the day, they feel like a lot of headaches, agitation, inability to focus. And coming back to my story, this is what I felt as a kid. I was suffocating in this classroom because I was a little bit more intuitive and connected to my inner terrain than other kids. And all I wanted was to break free and be outside in the sun.
Right.
Now, of course, there is let's talk a little bit about solutions, right? Because let's face it, we are now living in a modern world where we're surrounded by all type of lights. So what can we do about it? What we came up with in VivaRays, if we move to the slide after this one. Okay, so knowing that blue light is not bad and it's an essential color that we must expose ourselves to during the day, but it needs to be balanced, it needs to be proportional with other colors. We wanted to find a solution that does not filter out blue light and eliminate it, because that will make us sleepy and tired at the wrong time when we need to be active and productive during the day. So we came up with this daytime solution that you can see here, and it's literally designed to decrease the sharpness of the 455 nanometer frequency and to make it more balanced and proportionate with the green, yellow, and some of the oranges. And what I tell people, this is a step towards balance, but it's not utter balance yet because we're still not getting that full spectrum light. But it's moving from complete unbalance to a more balanced state. And what we tend to see is that most people wearing those glasses during the day report feeling less headaches, less eye strain, feeling more energized. They arrive on at the end of the day and they're not completely wiped out and unable to play with their kids. To do
this is a big problem that we see, is that people will get the wrong idea about blue blockers, and they'll think, okay, anytime I'm in front of a screen, I'm supposed to be wearing these super dark lenses. But if you do that, you're going to actually wind up feeling exhausted and really being sleepy all day. And it actually hurts your circadian rhythms because your brain's not sure what time of day it actually is. And this is something I actually use when I travel with your products, because your blue blockers are so dark. Like if I'm going 6, 7, 8 hours difference in a time zone, I'll put them on so that I can adjust faster, because they trick my brain into thinking that it's night.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such an amazing way to simulate the new time that you are traveling to
Yeah,
2
right.
days in advance. And then that will help you to overcome all the terrible feelings of jet lag that we often feel when we travel from one time zone to another.
And I just did this to Thailand, and I fixed my circadian rhythm within, a 24-hour period. I used high dose melatonin to do that, which I wrote about over at my Substack blog if people are interested in learning more about that protocol. But I used Roudy's glasses to do it.
Absolutely.
And
I'd love to learn about that protocol myself because I've never experimented with it, by the way.
Yeah, I also used your sleep glasses on the plane. Or sleep glasses is the wrong word. Sleep thingy on the plane.
The 3D, the blackout mask.
The blackout mask.
So one thing to highlight here, Lalin, that I often see a lot of confusion about. There's two different topics, right? Like there are experts like Andrew Huberman saying, blue light is great during the day. You shouldn't be blocking it. And while this is a truth, it's almost half truth that could lead to a full lie.
Yeah, the dose makes the poison, right?
Absolutely. Because yes, blue light is great during the day, but only if it was balanced and proportional with the other frequencies of colors. And
Right.
if it's coming in this form like this, a narrow spike, it becomes very toxic. It leads to inflammation, it leads to mitochondrial damage. And this too also, like, it's important to touch on something that there's a lot of yellow tinted glasses in the market that are engineered to block 100% of the blue light at 455 nanometer. And I have experimented with this early on in my journey. And what I found that they used to make me very tired and they throw me off rhythm. And then eventually I understood why. Is because when I did my measurements, I saw that when you block blue light at 100% of the blue at 455 nanometer, you're actually wiping out a lot of the blue turquoise at 480 nanometer, which happened to be one of the important frequencies to stimulate melanopsin, the protein in the eye, the signal to our brain that it's daytime. So if you happen to be, for example, sitting indoors, there's somehow a window somewhere, you're wiping out all of this blue turquoise, and you're basically causing yourself to start feeling a lot more drowsy, a lot more fatigued than you should, because you're blocking a lot more than you should be blocking during the day.
And this is why getting that balanced natural light is so important. And so, you'll notice what Roudy said was the 480 blue turquoise, right? It's not being emitted well, correct me if I'm wrong, by these LEDs. They're loaded with a different frequency, right? And this is why small details matter like this. And that's one of the things that Roudy said that was pretty quick. You could easily miss it. Was it's a good idea to have some natural light coming into your work environment from a window as much as possible. So like I'm always oriented towards the window in my office, and I always have my office in as bright of a room as possible, or I'm working outside, as Roudy is right now.
Absolutely. I set my office outside as often as I could. But for people who can't, when there are windows in the space, make sure that you open them so you get that UV undistorted, unfiltered by the tints of the windows. Because most windows today distort the frequency of sunlight big time. And another important thing is if there are some windows and then you're still sitting in an environment that is dominated by artificial light, then I would advise to put the daytime glasses from VivaRays, which will decrease the sharpness of this nasty frequency at 455, while still allowing you to absorb all the 480 nanometer that will be coming from the window.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So moving to the second part of the day, I guess we did a really good job to cover the one half of the day. And as we started our conversation, we spoke about balance between day and night, between yin and yang, that balance, rhythmic interchange that we see in nature all the time.
Right.
We like the one thing that I tend to see in my life, whether it's a problem with my family or in my health or in my business, it boils down to one word: balance. And anytime I perceive those problems, I ask myself, how am I breaking the law of balance? So in this specific topic, when we're speaking about light, there is light and there is darkness, and we need as much darkness as much as we need light. And the more we soak darkness, in fact, the more we're able to absorb light the following day without burning. And that's an absolutely important thing. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about it, Lennon. I see a lot of people, for example, they go to the beach and they're like under intense sunlight from 12 till 4, frying themselves. Then they come back home and they're exposed to the second sun from artificial light, which completely sabotages their melatonin. And as a result, their skin, their cells cannot undo and rejuvenate and do the healing work that will allow them to wake up the following day and being able to absorb sunlight without being irritated, so to speak.
Yeah, it goes back to what I said earlier about the red and infrared portions of the spectrum being very healing. And what people don't realize is that the UV light in your environment is strongest in the middle of the day, which is why it's really easy to go outside and burn in the middle of the day. But what they don't realize is that at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, and it varies, you can look up your UV index just by Googling it. But early in the day and late in the day, you have more red and infrared light and less UV light. And that red and infrared light is actually healing the skin and preconditioning the skin so that it can cope with the stress of UV light later or recover from it if it's already been exposed. So this all comes back to having a balanced light environment at the end of the day. And it also, the more sun you get during the day, the higher your melatonin levels are at night, because sun and infrared and red light in particular trigger melatonin production in the skin and in the eye. And this means that, this goes back to the idea of, we don't necessarily want to block all of the light. We want to balance all of the light, and we want to have abundance of light during the day so that our bodies know that it's daytime, but then we want to block very selectively frequencies of light at night that are going to disrupt our circadian rhythms. I'll even use the sauna at night because I love the feeling of getting hot and breaking a sweat, and it often helps me sleep significantly. So, it's not like all light during the day bad, all light during the night bad. It's that you need to have this balance, and that's what you've tried to do in your suite of products.
Absolutely. And I want to highlight something you said is extremely important. The more sunlight you get during the day, the better your sleep is going to be at night, because the better your melatonin production is. But it also applies the other way around. What I start noticing is the less sunlight you get during the day, the more light hungry you become, and the more you're prone to want to be around artificial lights at night.
Yes.
And it's because we are beings of light, and every cell in our body is waiting to absorb that light. So when we spend most of our day indoors, or in my case, for example, back in the days when I used to be a night owl, I would wake up at 11 or 12. And for the first 2-3 hours, I'm very groggy. I'm still indoors. And it's not until 4 or 5 p.m. that my day would start. By then, I'm extremely light hungry. And the way I feed my light hunger is by being around screens, by being a lot of artificial lights. So that's another point to really pay attention to. You really want to maximize your sunlight exposure during the day so that your body really is craving darkness at night. And truly, when you spend a lot of time outdoors during the day, your body will crave that darkness. It will ask for it, and you would want to go to sleep very early because you will be like, looking forward to it rather than being resistant to it. Now,
that's exactly right.
A very important thing, Leland, is also like around sunset, when we go outside and we witness directly or indirectly that slowly fading light, it actually signals to our nervous system that it's time to start time to act, wind down, rejuvenate, and rest. And one very important thing about the sunset, it's also, it decreases, or it scales down how much we're going to be impacted by artificial light afterwards. So the more sunlight we get during the day, and if we also go and watch the sunset, the less sensitive to artificial light we're going to be afterwards. And this is not to say that we're going to be 100% immune to artificial light and it's not going to affect us. But if you take two people, one who has spent a lot of time outdoors during the day and one who has not, and you place both of them under artificial light at night, the person who spent a lot more time outdoors and who watch the sunset is gonna have a less negative impact than the person who was indoors all the time and then exposed themselves to artificial light at night.
Absolutely. We see that clinically all the time. It's not just a research finding. It's a real thing.
Absolutely. And then basically you go on your journey, you witness that slowly fading light, your nervous system is ready to rest, repair, and rejuvenate. Then you come back home, you want to make sure that you're not exposed to that second sun from your artificial light in your home. So that's when we advise that you put the VivaRays evening glasses. And those are engineered to mimic the color temperature of the bonfire at 1900 kelvins. So they block 100% of the blue, and we engineered a specific formula to block the highest frequency green, yet keep enough green so that you can still function, do your evening activities, and do your work and in your evening task without feeling very sleepy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's very important. And so what you're telling me is can you explain the graph that we've got up here? Because we've had it up here for a while and I don't think we've really talked about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can see in this graph, the one in the back is the nasty artificial light that we're exposed to. Now the equation changes at night because we have never been exposed to blue and green light whatsoever at night. So after the sunset, ideally we want to eliminate those colors. This is when blue becomes extremely bad, and we could say it out loud. Now, what the evening glasses do, as you can see,
and these are the ones I'm holding up right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Got it.
So they filter out 100% of the blue, and as you can see in the graph, the highest frequency green, yet they keep enough green so that you can still run your evening task without feeling very sleepy. I like to think of them as like if you're in nature around a bonfire, it's the phase of the beginning of the bonfire. You feel like you wind down, you're relaxed, yet you have enough energy to dance, cook, and socialize with your friends. This is the evening concept.
This is sort of like a twilight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Cool. And then about an hour before bed, let's move to the last graph. Yes. So about an hour before bed, switching to the nighttime glasses is going to be game changing, because these guys are designed to block 100% of the blue, 100% of the green, and they're also designed to decrease the brightness by 15 times, which is a very, very important feature that I often see missed in other blue blocking glasses in the market. And why is that? Because brightness of light also
it's very powerful.
Affect our circadian clock. It throws us off.
And that's a really important misconception that people have. They think that because they're wearing blue blockers, they are protected. And that is, you need to be aware that there's two things here. There's the frequency, which we've talked a lot about, but the intensity also matters. And so, and I just like with so I want to make sure I understand you correctly, right? You created this product where you have this clip on, and it's not clip on, it's magnetized, which I think is really slick. Yes. And this allows me to travel with one pair of blue blockers that give me an evening pair so that I'm not totally zonked out when I'm out at night. And then a darker pair that allows me to really help my sleep 2 or 3 hours before bed. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the daytime glasses.
Yeah.
And it's the base frame. And technically, you could seamlessly transition from one technology to another depending on the time of the day, because it's all about the time and how much you need to block.
And I need that because I need to travel with only one carry-on. And so all this fits very conveniently in this little what is it? It's a bamboo tube, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And as you can see, the experience of interchanging is very seamless. It's very easy. So you don't need to buy 3 different frames, carry 3 different frames. It's a lot more cheaper than buying 3 different frames on our website. And also it's a lot more effective, a lot more practical.
Right. Exactly. Great.
Yes, amazing.
You got any more slides for us to carry or to cover?
No, I think we're done with the slides. I wanted to show those graphs. And
great. So I hope everyone's enjoyed this. I hope you got a lot out of it, understood, how these lenses are very different, even though they may look very similar. You have a lot of different options for where to get these products, but there's a reason why I test these things, why I order them from certain people and not others, and why I like sitting down to chat with Roudy so that I can know exactly what's going on with these products.
Yeah, absolutely. And Leland, just to wrap it up for anyone who's listening, I think this is extremely simple, just like anything in nature is.
Mhm.
And it boils down to three phases of the day, which we all live every single day. And some of us go through glorious moment of joy,
Mhm.
others experience sadness and failure. But it all boils down to what we do during those three phases of the day. The action that we take and the habits that we wire during
That's
those
right.
three phases will determine whether our day is going to be successful and healthy or end up being a failure and depleting us. And those three phases are first thing in the morning when we wake up, what we do, and basically going outside watching that sunrise is going to be extremely advantageous. The second phase is in between, so basically our daytime routine. And what I suggest people doing is taking breaks. If you're working indoors, time
Take a
yourself
break,
every two
get
hours or
outside.
so, go
Yeah.
outside and take 5 minutes of sunlight. Make sure you're wearing the daytime glasses when you're indoors. And then finally, the evening routine, go watch the sunset, breathe, meditate, and make sure you block artificial light when you come back home.
And there's one more thing I want to mention because I usually tie this into my conversations with people now, and that's that you have to remember that it's. I mean, Tesla said it's all about energy, frequency, and vibration. More specifically, he said if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And we've talked a lot about light right now, which is the main circadian rhythm determinant or Zeitgeber. But I want people to understand that the reason why I like the two products that I've shown of Roudy's today, the sleep mask and then the blue blockers, is that wherever I'm traveling, no matter what I'm exposed to, and you guys actually have some ear what do you call them? Earplugs.
Earphones,
You have
earphones
to
and
think in
earbuds.
terms of creating a good sleep environment. It's got to be dark. It's got to be quiet, and that means for me a sleep mask, particularly when I'm traveling, because you may have bright lights outside of hotel rooms and whatever. You may live in an apartment where you can't control something with the street lighting, and even blackout curtains don't fully block that light. And then I'll use earbuds, rather ear plugs, and then the blue blockers. And that's really the key to optimizing your circadian rhythms and in many respects your health, because the energy you're exposed to is going to determine how the matter that is your body functions and how the electromagnetic organ that is your brain really works.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, thanks for mentioning this because sometimes we take also sounds for granted and
Mm.
we don't realize how much sound impact us. And especially being a traveler in Mexico, I sometimes bounce into into some situations where I completely have no control of the noise around. And the earplugs have been life saving, literally.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Roudy, thanks for joining me. It's great seeing you. And if anyone has
Yeah.
questions, post them in the comments. Again, there's a discount code for VivaRays products in the description of this video. And I encourage you to check out what they've got and to use it to protect your circadian rhythms.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lelin. And yeah, if everyone has any questions, want to reach out personally, they could reach out to us, support@vivarays.com.
Thanks everyone for watching and have a great day.